Yo, Mana Squad, if you like any of the cards you see in today's video, make sure to hit up the affiliate link down below to TCG Player. You can help look up some of your local game stores in the process and help show the channel some love. And you know you got to look good while you play in order to play good. So make sure you hit up our link to Into the AM as well. We have the discount code down in the description below. Look, you got to listen to Kenneth the Heathen. He always says something about dripping in space and screaming. We don't know what it means, but do what the man says. And last but not least, hit up Heavy Play. Heavy Play is going to have some of the nicest playmats and deck boxes out there. Their magnet system between their deck box and dice trays and playmat is amazing, especially if you're playing at like bars, restaurants, stuff like that. You got to get up and move. There is no better way to keep all your stuff together, and you can show the channel some love in the process. Stay petty.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Command Center, where we like to put our favorite commander, maybe even yours, front and center. And you know we can't do it unless we play those three horrendous letters, EDH. What does it stand for today, me? Oh, I'm glad you asked me. Well, today, EDH stands for Enjoying Duskmourn Horrors. That's right, Duskmourn pre-release. Oh, not pre-release. We're nowhere even near that.
Preview season.
Preview. Yeah, we're just doing some previews right now because I guess they released some previews over the weekend. And so at one of the PAX events. So Derek, today I want to just get on a call with you today and just kind of see how you're feeling, because I know you are very excited about Duskmourn, probably more excited than any set that we've come across or any plane we've come across this year. So let the people know how you feel about Duskmourn so they can understand the hype.
Yeah. Also, Ken is currently trapped in the Duskmourn mansion. He's doing like a recon mission for us, but we haven't heard back. I don't remember the last time we heard from him.
Yeah, it's been a minute. The last message I saw, he just said that it's afraid of him. I didn't really know what that meant, but yeah, we'll see when he gets back.
It's the most accurate outcome possible of him being sent to the Duskmourn house. So we'll have updates when he returns from his adventures. But yeah, I think this is the single set I'm most excited for since I've started playing Magic, because even with Innistrad, which I was very excited for the return to Innistrad, I was super hyped about that, but with that we already had been to Innistrad, so there was some expectation of, I kind of knew what was going to be there, and no matter how excited I was, it was like you kind of had hopes of certain characters. This is like brand new, and this is all in on just horror movie tropes, all spooky stuff, and it's all brand new. I don't know what to expect. And yeah, this is by far, we've talked about it a lot in videos, but preview season comes along so often now, and so many times we get there with almost a sense of dread. Like, oh gosh, what new cards do we need to learn? We just had one, this and that. I was literally tuned in for the reveal, immediately refreshing every page to see every spoiler popping up, and just, yeah, I can't wait. So we're going to, like you said, we're going to talk about some of the mechanics, some of our favorite cards already, and we're probably going to be dropping some random videos throughout the next couple weeks talking about some of the new spoilers, some of the new legendary creatures, all this exciting stuff, and some of the references too, because I do love with some of these sets that they get direct references to. It's almost my favorite version of a Universes Beyond. They're not directly, it's not like, oh, the clown from the movie, look at the actor. It's like a subtle hint to it, which I love what they're doing with a lot of the stuff. So I guess we can jump into some of the mechanics, talk about kind of overall what they've talked about from the set, because at this point we are on, today's September 1st, so we are just to the kickoff of spoiler season. So they obviously are going to have 4 commander decks, but what's exciting about these outside of the legendaries is it's going to be Arch Enemy, which already has my attention. Have you played much Arch Enemy before?
I've dabbled in it here and there. I have played probably approximately, definitely no more than 2 games of Arch Enemy, because it was just how do we even beat this person? I think it was Nicol Bolas Arch Enemy was the one that came out before, and I was like, I'm not enjoying it. that was a slugfest, and I wasn't the Arch Enemy. I had a fight against the Arch Enemy, and I was like, I don't like that.
We play with Ken a lot, so we play pseudo Arch Enemy all the time. It's just not formal.
True. But yeah, but you don't. But that Arch Enemy gives Ken extra abilities and powers, and we don't need that.
He doesn't need that. No, I like Arch Enemy for the same reason I love playing Chase. It's a cool way to mix things up, especially like if you're in a play group that plays together a lot and you have the same decks and all that. Just throwing a little twist on it's fun, and I enjoy. If you're gonna make a million commander precons a year, do stuff like this to mix it up, so it's not just the same stuff coming out. So there's a whole bunch of the new Arch Enemy cards and stuff which are fun. But I guess the thing most people are interested in are new card types, mechanics, and things like that. And we've had a few of them revealed so far. So I think the most exciting one probably to a lot of people is going to be rooms. Rooms are a new thing that have been revealed, where it's essentially like it is an enchantment type, and it's got 2 different cards on it. So it reminds me of the split cards from Amonkhet almost. But instead of like an Aftermath side, you basically pick one to cast. You can pick either one, and then you can pay the mana at the cost of the other to open the door to the other room. So you can get these like multiple abilities on the enchantments. I love this. Honestly, the more Magic has moved, outside of its readability, which with all the split cards is always interesting, I like modal type cards. I love when you have options on cards. I just think it's that much easier to slot them into decks. I'm never going to be mad about modal cards. I think it just makes decks more fun to build when you have options within the cards. Do you have any initial thoughts on Room? Is it a mechanic? I know one thing we talk a lot about is a lot of new mechanics. We don't hide this. We kind of just ignore them. There are plenty of new mechanics that have been printed where we just pretend they don't exist. We basically sit there and you're just like, it's not there. It's not a real thing. We'll just pretend. If it ever pops up, we'll read it then. Is this one that you're actually going to play, or is this one that's not going to exist for you?
It has my attention. It's a little cute. I kind of like the idea of it. It's like a blend of, like you said, the split cards from that we saw in Amonkhet, and some of the maybe even fused cards we saw before that. Yeah. And it kind of put me in the mind of the dungeon, actually, because I avoid dungeons at all costs. But if you gave me a dungeon where I was like, I know it's kind of similar in the same vein. It's just my brain gets overloaded when I see the dungeon card and everything you have to do to go through the rooms. I didn't really like that. But this is, you
got one other room.
Yeah,
one other room.
Fewer rooms. I'm feeling it. Fewer rooms to go through, but I don't know. I feel like if you can find a way to kind of, I feel like they did perfectly kind of blend the 2 ideas. But if you could take it a step further, I could see myself doing like a Duskmourn board game, kind of like this, with kind of like going through the rooms, or not necessarily board game, or introducing some type of pieces to the card game itself, where like you're going through the rooms as well with other players or by yourself. So I don't know. I see some weird things going on here that I kind of like than I did previous like from other iterations of this. So I'll give it a thumbs up for now.
I think one of my favorite things about it is, at least from the way I'm understanding Room so far, is that you're still paying mana costs. I think some of the abilities with dungeons and the initiative and things in other formats, and even playing Commander, you just get this free value once you cast it, just from like basically existing sometimes, and there's 70 different options and it's all these things branching. This one seems really straightforward. You get an ability, you can pay more mana, get another ability. It essentially gives a card more options, but you're not cheating mana costs to get there, from what it seems like. It seems cool, and the flavor of it, of going into another room in a haunted house, is great. So the next one that sounds very ominous is Impending. So again, we only have a few of these cards so far, so there might be more to it later, but from my gathering on Impending, you have these enchantment creatures. They have an impending cost that's typically less than their normal mana cost, and if you cast it for its impending cost, you put these time counters on it. I guess they're all called time counters in this case, and they're not a creature until the time counters leave. So one of the examples is Overlord of the Hauntwoods, is one of the first cards that's been previewed so far. It's got impending. Normally it costs 3 a green and a green, but it has impending 4 for 1 green. So you can pay it for 3. It's an enchantment, and a few turns later it turns into a creature. A lot of these have ETBs and attack triggers from what we've seen so far. So if you do the impending, you get that initial ETB, but you have to wait a certain amount of time before you can start getting attack triggers and things. This is a cool ass design, I'm not gonna lie, because you get a utility for it entering. You can, if you're late game, if you want it to be a creature, you can pay all this mana. It's kind of safer as an enchantment, so it's not a creature right away. It feels like a really cool balance of really broken abilities on strong cards, and impending, in this case, for the one we just talked about, impending 4 is no joke. 4 turns is a lot. So if you do want to pay that cheap mana cost, you gotta wait unless you have counter things to mess with. Like, I think it's a pretty cool mechanic. How are you feeling?
All right. I was a little bit confused at first, but I get it now, because I thought that they were sitting in like a suspend zone with the time counters. Because this is the first time I'm thinking that we have something with time counters and it's actually sitting on the battlefield. So I'm interested to see how that's going to interact with other cards, especially, you know me, I play Obeka, Becky G. Other cards that use suspend as well, like I'm blanking on her name, the OG
Oh gosh, Grixis, right?
No. Red and blue. This
No.
was starts with a J.
I know. Jaleva, Haleva, Heleva.
I don't know why I'm blanking on her name.
I know. Joyra.
Joyra. There's been
There
so
we
many.
go. I was thinking, you know what? I was looking at a hell of a like deck list for like hours the other day, and it was stuck in my head. I'm like, it doesn't suspend, but it was Joyra. I believe the OG Joyra was the one that had you could put suspend counters, right?
Yeah. That. So I mean, hey, if it makes it to the video, if not, cut all the stuff out. But
I want to keep it because it'd be even funnier. I'll put whatever it is on the screen. If we're still wrong and it's not Joyra, it'd be even funnier. It's a completely different card.
It's Joyra. My mind has been jogged. It's just like you know how we talk. There's been thousands of Magic cards printed ever since we started playing. But there's also of course the Doctor Who cards introduced a new
there were tons of
time
those.
counters and suspense stuff
Timey-wimey.
too. But yes, I'm liking that this is actually sitting on the battlefield now. A little bit. It's because now it's still interactable. But I'm guessing, let's see, when it enters, you, for this one specifically, create a tap colorless land token named everywhere. This basic every land type. So, yeah, when it enters, it's going to do something. But then when it's able to start swinging, to start attacking, then it's going to be able to do the same thing. So I'm okay with it. It's just the fact that it has time counters and it's still a permanent that can be removed. Granted, it is an enchantment. Different. Yeah, granted it's an enchantment, so it's going to make it a little bit harder, but you know, could still get swept up in all the enchantment creature removal stuff too. But I'm waiting to see how it goes.
I love that it's interactable. I think that's the thing I like about over suspender, things like that. I know with suspend cards, you're like, okay, at what point do I have to interact? You have to kind of plant this and that. With these, they are very powerful effects, but because it's a countdown for it, you have plenty of time to remove it. For the most part, you're going to know when this creature is going to be coming into play, all these things. So, like, I like it. All right, so those first two mechanics seem relatively straightforward, pretty easy to follow. This next one, we'll talk more if that's the case. It's called Manifesting Dread. So any player can manifest Dread. Whoever does, that player looks at the top two cards, puts one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature and the other in their graveyard. If it's a creature, it can be turned face up at any time for its mana cost. Now, I think it's easy enough to follow. I enjoy that you're not just flipping a random card face down, because I know some of those like manifests and stuff like that, or it's like you don't know what you're going to get. So I like having the option. The only negative, I would say, is we are starting to increase in the number of card types that are just random face down cards. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it might get a little confusing between, we already had like Morph and Disguise and Super or Megamorph, and then Manifest, and now we got Manifest Dread. That I can get confusing. I like it at a base level. It fills graveyards and things like that. I almost would wish that like one of these abilities didn't leave open the possibility for this card to be turned face up, which might sound ridiculous, but for simplicity's sake, it feels like so many of these abilities exist, and maybe there's some consistency in that. Maybe all of these abilities, the manifest and everything, can be turned up for their mana cost. I've lost track of how many face down effects there are, but how do you feel about that? Do you think it's rare enough that it's not an issue, or do you think it might be like, we're getting to a lot of face down things?
No, I definitely agree. I do appreciate it in the sense that Morph didn't get the type of love that I felt like it needed. But at the same time, I don't feel like we've improved Morph. We're just getting new variations of the same word. I mean, the same ability, but just different words. I do, like I said, appreciate it, the fact that you can now spread this across pretty much all the colors now. So you can start doing face down, face up things in multiple colors. But it's going to start, for me, getting a little bit confused between what is cloaked, what is manifested, what is what other ways do we have ways to turn things face down? Because I mean, sometimes things cannot turn face up when they've been put face down. If you're using cards like Ixodron, the blue creature card that turns everything face down into face down 2/2s.
There.
Yeah,
that's nothing, a good example.
Yeah, there's nothing that says those cards turn back face up if you pay the cost. But then, like I said, you do have other abilities that do allow you to do so. So unless we have a way to start indicating what is cloaked, what is manifested, what is what is
I
just
know
sitting
there's
on the
morph
table
tokens.
what is just sitting on the table.
Yeah, I know there's morph tokens, but I do think that honestly having some sort of, and I don't remember seeing these, but if there's disguise tokens or manifest tokens, things like that that have a rules text reminder and you can use like, to put over your face down cards, I think it's gotten to the point where those would actually be useful because there's just so many different versions of it. But I agree with you. I think on a base level, all three of these mechanics in a vacuum, not looking at like how it interacts essentially with all these other face down things, relatively simple. There's not a mutate here yet. There's not a dungeon yet. These are all pretty like, I can sit down, even if I'm a newer Magic player, read these, get them, and work these out. So I like how it's kicking off. I think that's the majority of as far as new stuff. There's a few things that I kind of didn't recognize. I saw there was a creature, Scrabbling Skull Crab. One just looks awesome, but it has Eerie, and that says whenever an enchantment you control enters and whenever you fully unlock a room, target player's mills. So Eerie, it sounds like it's going to be some sort of trigger off of enchantments and opening rooms, if that's a consistent theme through the set. So that might be something. We have Delirium returning, plenty of returning stuff. So it's kind of a preview of that. What I did want to talk about too while we're here, though, is some of the most exciting new cards that have been previewed so far. I think getting some of these reactions, because we very rarely do preview reactions and all these. If we have a few cards that we're most excited about, and because I'm going to be so excited about so many of these cards, I think it's great to like do it piece by piece. So I have 3 cards in particular that already, out of like the few that have been announced, that I am incredibly excited for. So I can kind of kick it off if you have a couple that you want to talk about as well.
Yeah, I do, but you can go ahead and kick it off.
All right. So the first one I'm going to talk about is one of the, I guess it is a rare. I absolutely love the card Chainsaw so much. I think one of the things I love so much about Chainsaw is that it kind of introduces the concept of equipment with ETBs, which we've seen that with field testing Frying Pan, which I play a lot in my Hobbits deck. It feels like equipment have gotten progressively worse in Commander as it's sped up, in the sense of like, for the longest time, equipment were always better quote unquote than auras, because when the creature dies, it sticks around. That was kind of always the thought process I was taught when I first started playing. But as time went on, it feels like you never want to pay the re-equip cost. You have to spend a whole turn doing it. So like auras, you know what, screw it. It's going to be gone, but it's cheaper. It gets on the creature right away. It's there. I need that efficiency. And so I've seen less and less people running equipment, honestly. Just like random equipment just don't get thrown in decks as much. And I love the idea of, if you play this Chainsaw, you're dealing 3 damage to a creature. You can basically bolt something when it enters. And then so if you can't equip it that turn, you're not wasting a turn. Or if you end up paying 5 mana to play and equip it, you're getting some sort of utility the turn it enters. So I feel like it's kind of like trying to catch up some equipment to like 2024 Commander. It's also a freaking Chainsaw, and obviously Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes. And I know some people feel weird about like certain, like, oh, they got cell phones and TVs and Magic. Yeah, that's fine. I love Chainsaw, so I'm happy there's Chainsaws in Magic. So that's my first one. It's a cool ability. And it's also one of those deals where it's just like, in the right deck, this could just pop off and make your creature massive. So I'm very excited about that card. The art is beautiful. Yeah, so that's kind of the first one. What about you?
Yeah, so the first one that I'm going to have to shout out is kind of the obvious one. It's the face monster of this whole thing, Valgavoth, Terror Eater. Granted, it's a 9-drop, 6 and 3 black Elder Demon. We'll get there. Whatever. Sure. I can get things out. But I think it's just the fact that, this is definitely a boogeyman of a card with the flying, the life link. So the war to sacrifice 3 non-land permanents. And basically, of course, you know me, I like to steal things from people. So anytime a card that you don't own will be put into opponent's graveyard from anywhere, not just the battlefield, but from anywhere, they get exiled. And during my turn, or during your turn, you can play those cards exiled, but using life to pay for those spells. So yeah, this is just value engine all day. Might get banned somewhere. I don't know. Just playing. But so yeah,
I strong agree. I feel like these like exile stealing effects. Just I'm gonna look at the camera when I say this. F you, Doubt the Voidwalker. F you, Tergrid. I hope you both live painful existences and never see play anywhere ever again and just disappear from the face of the earth. This is what those should have been. Having those like oppressive stealing effects on a 2-drop or even for targeted 5-drop is just not fun. They come out early. They ruin the game early. This is it's a 9 mana. If a 9-drop doesn't impose like fear in your opponents, it should not be 9 mana. This is wonderful because yes, obviously there are ways to reanimate it and cheat it out, and that's true of everything basically. But it's like for 9 mana, yes, this is the boogeyman. It doesn't end the game. It doesn't even win the game. But it's when you have an oppressive effect like that, like basically stealing everyone's graveyards and all this type of stuff and paying life, and so you can just a 9-drop is what that should be on, not on a 2-drop and a 5-drop. Like this is beautiful. This is great. Yeah, I agree with you on this. It's super powerful, and I'm gonna like roll my eyes when someone actually does get it on the battlefield. But it's awesome. Like that's what a big demon's supposed to be. Like this is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. What you got next?
All right. So the next one, I picked out 3 cards. So the second one is going to be one I wanted to call. This is not the card, but we're just going to throw it on the screen real quick because I find it hilarious. Toby Beastie Befriender. I'm pretty sure that's just Monsters Inc. Like straight up just Monsters Inc. that they got that, where it's like the big fuzzy dinosaur and the little kid.
Is it Beastie or Bestie?
Or I think it's Beastie. Toby Beastie Befriender. Because he's befriending beasties. It's an interesting choice because if you threw Monsters Inc. characters into a real horror movie, that would go terribly for them. I feel like they get torn apart. Little lizard man over there wouldn't be scaring shit in an actual horror movie, and that little kid would not do well. So that's an interesting choice. Toby, I hope you're hanging in out there because it's probably not going well. The one I actually wanted to talk about. Sorry.
So I do have some probably some lore going on with this. I think, not entirely sure, just based on the image of what I'm seeing here from the card art.
Yeah.
But in the story, there are these things called glimmers. It's basically like your hope or your thing that you're hopeful about or for. It's like a little companion that will appear sometimes. So I'm not sure if this is one of those things or because it is. Based on what I saw in the story art, it kind of looks like one, but the color is just a little bit different right now. So I'm not sure if she's befriending monsters there or if she's just have some glimmer stuff happening there.
Interesting. I don't know. I just know that what is the Monsters Inc. dude's name? You got Mike Wazowski and Sully.
Oh, John Goodman. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Sully.
Yeah. I just know they're going to get... If they pop up in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they are screwed. So good luck to y'all in this Duskmourn house. I cannot see this going well for you. The card I wanted to talk about, and this should be the least surprising card that I'm excited about because it's essentially an off-color Grave Titan, and I feel like I've cast Grave Titan more than any player in the year 2024. Overlord of the Mistmoors is just a beautiful, wonderful Magic card. It's one of the impending cards. It's in white, which is weird that I like it. But it's either 7 mana or 4 for impending 4. When it ETBs or attacks, you get 2/1 white insect tokens with flying. It's just Grave Titan with different font, basically.
Yeah.
And I can never have enough Grave Titans. So this just makes me so happy. It's going to make me have to play more white. And that's an effect that's scaled so well. If anybody is out there, I'm going to point at the camera. If any of y'all are also still out there casting Grave Titans in 2024, it's just the most fun thing you can do. It doesn't take over a game. You try it. You get a bunch of zombies. You get some tokens. You have to attack and all these things. But it's still a good time. So I love it. The spooky art, I love any time. I really like the creature type avatar because I feel like avatars are always these like godlike figures in a lot of these planes. So avatar horrors are just, it's great. It's a wonderful creature type ability. I love it all. What's your next pick?
Cool. So mine, let's see. I had a couple that I actually wanted to talk about, but of course the lands are hidden. The full art basic lands, those are just beautiful. Reminds me a lot of the other horror property that we just talked about, Stranger Things. Get a lot of vibes from that. It's the closest thing I can kind of relate that to. But of course, those are beautiful. They never miss with the lands anyway. But one card that is going to stick out to me that may not stick out to others just yet, Norrin, Swith Survivalist. Pretty sure you're familiar with Norrin the Wary.
They brought him back. I haven't seen... Is this the first time we've seen Norrin since Norrin the Wary?
Yeah. This is the first time I've seen his face up close, actually.
I always thought Norrin... for the longest, thought Norrin was a goblin. I'm not going to lie.
I did too.
When I found out he was... I was shocked. But sorry to cut you.
Yeah, but basically it's that second line of text on him. He's a 1-drop for red, but it says whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. You may play that card from exile this turn. This is repeatable enter the battlefield stuff for red, for mono red or artifact stuff like that, artifact creatures. So I think this is something that might go under the radar, but put in the right hands, you can see some crazy stuff happening.
Especially if you combine it with like combat damage trigger effects. So it's like a you lose situation where they either let the damage through or block, and then you get a whole bunch of ETBs.
Especially inflict.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yes.
Yes. Afflict. Sorry, afflict. Yeah, stuff like that.
You're inflicting afflict on everybody.
You got anything else?
I got one more.
I know you want to talk about them. Let me get mine in first before we go to the finale.
Get your last one. And what I'll say is, honestly, I could go one by one and talk about all of these because I'm like scrolling through the like 30 cards so far, and I could talk for an hour about all these. They are all like Doomsday Excruciator. I'm not gonna do. I just need to throw this on the screen because I want the art up there. It's got like 6 horns. It's a 6/6. I believe that's 6 black pips. It's really hard to count. Got 6 fingers on each hand. You exile all but the bottom 6. It's the most demonic thing I've ever seen in my life, and I love it so much. So much.
Yeah, I can't. I was definitely eyeing that card because I feel like that can just end the game in the sense that like not you're going to end the game yourself, but like it puts everybody on a clock. Like, all right, we have only so many turns left. I can even see myself donating this card to someone with because
the thing is,
John Arenicus.
It makes you draw extra cards, so it's like a throwback to the old demons that screw you over more than anything. Because yes, everyone's libraries only have 6 left, and you have to draw 2 a turn. So you're basically on a clock of like, everyone's about to draw their decks, but I'm gonna draw it first and lose. It feels like those old school demons and like Magic, where it was like, play this, sacrifice 12 creatures or you lose the game or some dumb shit on a 6/6 for no reason.
Yeah, I was actually just trying to see if this card existed before, because I feel like there's something definitely like it, like Doomsday, the card itself. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to remember that day because it's a card I don't even play.
Doomsday does some competitive shit. I don't actually know. I just remember I've died because Doomsday Zer was the...
Yeah, search your library and graveyard for 5 cards and exile the rest. Put the chosen cards on the top of your library in any order. Use half your life. So a little bit something like that. But I do know there were some cards back in the day that basically says like, hey, take a certain number of cards, put your library into your graveyard. Good luck.
Yeah.
Forget exactly the name of that card.
I do like this because it's also 6 turns is enough for like a game to still. It's not one of those dumb effects where it's like exile all permanents, everyone's life totals 1, go, or like you have no library, the game just ends in a tie, haha. Like it's not any of that. It's like, you know what? If you got 6 black pips of mana, you're playing this. You got whatever 6 cards are at the bottom. Good luck. Now I can definitely see that. The thing is that's nice though. It isn't if it was cast trigger. Mm-hmm. If it didn't have that text, I think I'd find it much more annoying because people would probably like find ways to cheat it out super early in a game and just make it a non-game. By the time you get to 6 black pips, even if you're on mono black, like there's enough. It's a cool effect. I think that's fun. So I didn't mean to cut you off. You can go to your final pick. I just was very excited about that.
No. It was definitely on my list too. It's going in the demon deck. I'll figure out what to do with it later. But one card I think probably we don't want to sleep on is the Wanderer or the Wandering Rescuer. This is another version of the Wanderer without being a Planeswalker now. I'm pretty this is the Wanderer. But yeah, she has Flash, she has Convoke, she has Double Strike, and other tap creatures you control have hexproof. It's doing a lot for what it is, and I'm not even saying you have to play this necessarily as a commander, but even just having this in a 99 as a pseudo hexproof, as well as just a card that's able to just beat face on its own with the Double Strike is something that I can appreciate and I like. So something again very subtle, but it can probably put up a headache in an actual game.
Oh, for sure. I think especially in the type of decks, whether it's a token deck or a bunch of utility creatures, the hexproof is annoying to get around. It's never a fun thing, and at least it's other. It doesn't give itself hexproof, so it's not some like never-ending loop of doom, which is nice.
So real quick, one that just caught my eye, Cursed Recording. I'm going to give this some more thought, but my initial reaction is, what is going on here? It's an artifact for 2 and 2 red. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a time counter on Cursed Recording. Then if there are 7 or more time counters on it, remove those counters. It deals 20 damage to you. You can also tap it when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. Just tap it and copy a spell. What is happening here?
What I love about a lot of these effects that we're talking about so far is a lot of this seems like it has downsides for the caster. In things we've seen, whether it's like the demon or this, it's like they're powerful effects, but there's like a give and a take to it. And I guess it fits into the whole like horror movie vibe, but it also makes it a lot more fun to me. I want cards with downsides. I want something powerful, but that could end up hurting me in the end because it just makes it that much more exciting to play. It's not just like, oh, value everywhere. Woo! Like, I love that. Like, that's great because you cast it, you can put time counters on it. But if someone is proliferate, if someone has any other things, they can speed this up and really screw you over. And that makes it so much more fun because it's not just, it's not just endless upside the set like that so far. So that's really cool.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and give the people what they came for. What's your final
this
pick?
is what I'm here for. The Jolly Balloon Man. The Jolly Balloon one. It's just a great name. It's the Jolly Balloon Man, but it is one of the most messed up images. The base art, the alternate art is awesome too, but the base art is him like blowing up balloon faces that look like actual people faces, and like there's some like messed up stuff going on. This is going to get me to play Boros, which is an insane thing, but the Jolly Balloon Man is a red and a white for a 1/4 with haste. And then you can kind of do like the pseudo Felden thing where you pay 1, tap it, and you get a token that's a copy of another target creature you control, except it's a 1/1 red balloon in addition to its other types and colors, and has flying and haste. You sack it at the beginning of the next end step and only as a sorcery. So a lot of things I love. I love that it's only as a sorcery because instant speed with this would get even more silly. Even with Felden, there's some very powerful things you can do if you do it at instant speed. But what I love is it's as a sorcery, and in addition, you're making 1/1 red balloon versions. There's so many of these effects that already exist that make exact copies, or Feldens that like cheat copies into play, where you're so focused on giant, massive creatures and making, because you're getting 1/1s. This is such a different deck than so many of the other similar things. And obviously, I'm a sucker for these types of decks. I love Felden, I love Kiki Jiki, I love Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Even in like Cedrus, I'm just constantly like reanimating things and then Feldening them back and all that. The fact that you get 1/1s, it's instead of making giant scary things, you're really focused on ETBs, dies triggers, combat damage triggers, because you're turning them all into flyers because they're all balloons now. So it's an interesting enough twist on an already kind of established archetype, on top of the fact that it is some of the most messed up art you can imagine with these like balloon faces, and the flavor is just so good that he's making these like essentially like balloon like voodoo doll type things of the people that he's like imitating, and it's this room with all of these heads and clowns. Look, we're gonna talk about how did clowns have the worst. Like, clowns started as a source of joy. I don't know what their PR team did over the course of like 100 years. Clowns went from like the happiest, like go lucky. It's like the equivalent of kittens becoming the scariest thing in the world in 100 years. Like, I don't know how the hell that happened, but like, clowns, work on your PR. But like, this just looks so cool. It's a terrifying clown. It gives me like a little bit of It vibes because of the balloons and everything like that. It gives me some of like the murder clown vibes from American Horror Story. Like, I absolutely love what it's doing. And real quick, last thing in this rant, I already saw immediately people are like, oh, you can break this with Dockside. Well, no shit. Look, don't you take my boy and turn him into some combo machine of messed upness. No, we are making balloon faces of some of our favorite things. Video to come about my favorite targets for that. Spoiler alert. But yeah, I love this card. Now that I've ranted for 10 minutes, I'm kind of curious in your thoughts too. And if it's just me that's way too excited.
Yeah, while you were ranting, I was looking at all the ways I could potentially break this card. Not just even using it as a commander, but splashing in some other colors, throwing him in a 99. So I have some targets myself. Those ETB things, or things that just really care about its power and toughness. This can wreck some shop in the right hands. But on its face as a commander, Sure, there's some things that you can definitely, some fun interactions you can do with this. I love the pace that it's moving since it is at sorcery speed, and you can only tap it during your turn. So also it's the fact that it's not making a non-legendary version of that creature is what I'm liking.
Yes.
So definitely got tired of seeing stuff like that. But of course you can still target those legendaries. They'll just die upon entering the battlefield. Yeah, pick your targets wisely and don't be a jerk.
Yeah, I love that. It's also, it does feel like it's a great home if you love the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Kiki Jiki, Feldendex, if you love those, but you've been reanimating, 8 and 9 drops forever, and you've been doing kind of a similar thing and you wanted a different vibe, this is that deck, but like value based. You're going to want those weird like 3 mana ETBs gain life, when it dies draw a card, little like Thopter things, and all this like weird stuff where you're like accruing value over the course of the game and trying to get 12 copies of that, as opposed to the I want 3 Italis, which, look, if you want 3 Italis, that is a great decision in life. More power to you. But it is just a different flavor to it. The only thing I hope, and I don't think we're going to get it based on previous effects like this, I hope we get some sort of balloon face token. Typically,
there is a red balloon token, but I don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's from the unsets. I know they have balloon tokens. It's just typically with effects like this that add, like, you're making copies with, you don't get like tokens for it. But Wizards, if you're out there, like Scarab God, things like that make, I get you can't print copies of it, but give us some sort of token to represent it, because I want a spooky balloon face on a card. Like, I just want a full spooky balloon face. That would be great.
That should have been done already, like a bordered, like hieroglyphic border,
like
just
a frame.
basic token. Yeah, frame, hieroglyphic frame and copy token in the middle, like special
Wizards.
edition Scarab God.
Wizards, we don't have many good ideas, but when we do, hire us. We got this for you. It's sitting right here. Just get on that. Okay, so I think we'll pull it to a close, because we wanted this eventually to be quick thoughts, but we got excited. Yeah. This set, look, this is literally day one of this. This is basically, we mentioned it was September 1st. We'll probably be releasing this tomorrow on September 2nd. So this will be a kind of a catch up from the first part of previews. We're probably going to try to get another one in this week of catching up as the second round of previews come. But yeah, it feels like we're both pretty excited about this. Hopefully I'm not just projecting my own excitement to you, but I'm loving what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, same. I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing. I wasn't expecting to like this one as much as I was, kind of similar to Bloomburrow. I'm still kind of course, digging through Bloomburrow, just finding some odd pieces here and there. But this one, I might just go all in. And I haven't even talked about my favorite, because I guess the card itself has been spoiled, but I'll wait till we get to the commander stuff. But yeah, my baby girl, she's back, and
those haven't been official. Those have been officially previewed, so I think we'll probably.
Okay, cool,
honestly,
cool.
I think when they do commander deck list reveals, we might just do a whole video, honestly, talking about some of these, because the face commanders seem cool as hell. So yeah, and I guess I mean that literally, because one of them is literally a demon, so he is cool as hell. This is wonderful. So let us know in the comments how you kind of feel about this early spoiler so far, how you're feeling about the set, and definitely stay tuned for lots more spooky things coming. And wish Ken luck again. Or you know what? No. Wish the monsters luck.
Yeah, wish the house luck.
Wish the monsters luck. This Doomsday Excruciator looks scary now, but when he's got Ken coming up behind him, he's not gonna have much of a chance. So good luck, monsters.
All right, peace out.
Peace.